watching afternoon repeats and the 38s in the country.
Hey guys, guess it's Happy Homebrew Wednesday, although this is not an HBW, this is an FABQ, frequently asked brewing questions, hashtag mother chuckers. Yeah, so I'll be honest, no one's actually thought of me, no one's actually nominated me for this, but the tasting niche herself said get on and do it, so in time-honoured fashion I'm going to get on and do it. Yeah, so no mucking about, on with the questions. How did you get into beer stroke geeking? That is a question with several answers. I originally was, for my sins, a habitual Carlsberg drinker through my formative years, with occasional dalliances into, dare I say it, Foster's, Stella, you know, the usual culprits, Carling at the Reading Festival. Yeah, so I didn't really have a clue, and that was kind of my background, if you like. I remember going clubs years ago when I was a kid in Romford, and like we'd go in and we'd drink this cheap German lager, like a Pilsner called, if you can call it a Pilsner, it was called Hofmeister, and I'd have that and a Bell's Chaser. Yeah, classy. And then for the rest of the night I'd drink Nuki Brown Ale. So I guess at least I was drinking an ale, but Nuki Brown's nothing to be writing home about. So from that, it wasn't really till much later, I guess, when I was kind of in my mid to late 20s, I went to a beer festival in Brentwood, a pub called the White Horse, and I got collared for it by a friend who was a friend at the time. Said, come along, there's a few of us going. I was like, all right, okay. Never been to one before, didn't know what to expect. You know, proper camera affair, a few, you know, I think 40 odd casts on there, something like that as a guest, loads of live music. I was shit-faced. I had my first ever real ale hangover the following day, and kind of never looked back, I suppose, from there. That kind of sowed the seed, and then there was a friend of my wife who we went to visit, and I was pretty new with her in terms of us being together, and he was a real ale drinker, and he got me trying a few different things. I think he's got me on YouTube, so Alex, if you're watching this, heads up to you, mate. This is partly your fault, and sometimes, so that's when things really changed. I started to drink more sort of standard British ales, you know, pale ales, bitters. It was a while before I got into darker beers, stouts, porters, etc. But I happened to be in Wilko's one day, and I think this is kind of how a lot of people get into that, in the UK at least, get into the homebrew thing in more recent years. Wilko's, for those of you who don't know, is a store that sells a little bit of everything, you know. It's I guess in the States you have Walmart, and this is kind of Walmart in miniature, so it's a bit like that. And they had a little homebrew section in there. It's only kind of kit beers and stuff like that, and I saw it once and I was like, oh, that's a bit of milk, I could, yeah, I might have a go at that. Went back, cleared it with She Who Must Be Obeyed, and you know, went and bought my first Woodford's Wherry kit, and all the you know, the various accoutrements to go with it. Started doing a little bit of research, because I'm a bit nerdy like that. I suppose that's one way in which I am geeky. If I want to do something, then I'd rather look into it first, get to, you know what I'm getting into, try and not make any cock-ups to begin with if I can avoid them. So I did that. And then finally, once I'd done a couple of those, and I'd had a little break from it, gone back to it, etc., I happened to have a question, and I was pretty new to YouTube, didn't have a profile on there, I just like used it as a tool, I guess. And I went on there, and you know, I found these guys who were making videos, and I was like, what? This is interesting. And so I was a voyeur YouTuber, brew tuber, for maybe a year or two before I dipped my toe at all myself. And I guess that is it in a long-winded sense. I haven't looked back from there. I did beer for my own wedding, and got into all grain not long off the back of that. Couple of extract brews in between, and you know, here we are, all together talking about it, answering questions in a field. I'll come back to that in a bit. Okay, that's question one. Rambled through that in just under 5 minutes, so let's get a march on and try to get through these. What's your favourite beer? My favourite beer is, as a commercial beer, I've only ever had once, and I only say that because it's the beer that made the biggest impact on me, that had the wow factor when I had it. I was in a Brewdog bar in Clapham, South London, and I met a mate of mine there. And Stu, if you're watching this, heads up, fella. We were in this bar a couple of summers ago now, and they had this an American beer on tap. It was called Mexican Cake. It's by a brewery called Westbrook, and it's essentially a chili stout with all kinds of other stuff in it, chocolate and all that. It's a crazy beer, lovely beer. And I was like, I have to brew something like this. And about 6 months later, I did for the first time. I'd been doing coffee stouts and things like that, and I did a coffee mole stout, and this is kind of my homage to it. I've talked about it on some older videos going back months ago. It's called Himalaya Joe. So that's my favourite commercial beer, and Himalaya Joe is my favourite homebrew of my own creation. So yeah, there you go. Question 3: if you could have one beer forever, what would it be? I'm not going by brand or by whatever, I'm just going to go by style. And to be honest, I have love for all different types of beer. Now, I don't particularly have a favourite style, but if there's a beer that is just, you know, middle of the way, ABV, something you can go back to, a bit of an old faithful, for me it's a Hefeweizen. Can't get enough of them. Lovely beers. And, you know, I don't think I get too bored of that. Whereas hoppy beers, you know, they're great in isolation, but too many of them, and they do become a bit samey. My own hand there. So yeah, that it would be a Hefeweizen for me. And question 4: how is it that you drink so much and stay healthy? Truth be told, I haven't always. The demon drink has had its effects on me before now, but currently I do several things. I'm trying to implement minimum 2 days off in the week. Trying to get 3 if I can, so at least it's kind of 60-40 or whatever in favour of the beer still, and that's going all right. It's helping having my week split between Wales and Essex, because I can kind of portion bits of it off and do it that way. Additionally, I'm sad to say I'm 35 and I don't drive, so I walk everywhere, and I walk for the sake of walking, I walk because I have no choice, and I walk because I enjoy it. In fact, today that's exactly what I'm doing. I've left work, I've got changed at work, and I am now in, well, I'm in a field. I'm in a place called Thorndon. It's a country park. It's all woods, open fields, farmland, all sorts. It used to be an old estate. Give you a little twizzle so you can see what's going on, see what I'm looking at. Look through the eyes of the brewer. Yeah, so that's where I am. And yeah, in the distance there you might have been able to see the flat Southlands of Essex. It's not the most picturesque place in the world. In fact, I would say that Wales has it hands down all day long. Anyway, so I do a lot of walking. I try to, that is really my only source of exercise. I can't do gyms. It bores the living tits off me, and I resent throwing money away at something I'm not going to use. So anyway, that's what I do. Diet, yeah, I do eat a lot of the right stuff. I eat a lot of the wrong stuff as well. I love my cheese, I love my bread. You know, I'm a carb man, and yeah, but then I try to get oily fish in. I do eat a lot of fresh fruit and veg. So it's a bit of a mixture. So diet is something I'm starting to look at and want to get a little bit more better, so I can balance out what I'm doing with the beer. Okay, are you an alcoholic? Well, this was always going to be the question that split hairs, I guess. No, but is what I've written in my notes. And I say that because, like a lot of people have said, I do think an alcoholic is someone who is dependent on alcohol to function, to get through the day, to exist almost. It is their raison d'etre. And that's not me. I do get up in the morning, I go to work, and I'm not loaded already, you know. That doesn't have to be. I say that because I do feel the attachment, and I do feel I recognise in myself a certain amount of addiction or dependency, in that I do try to have 2 or 3 days off in the week, but come day 3, having had 2 days off, I'm all about the beer. I'm clamouring, you know, and I struggle to have more than that long without having a beer. I don't drink to excess often. I do drink to the point I get drunk on occasion. There is good cause for it, you know. Birthdays, stag do's, bar mitzvahs, maybe not the latter, but you know, generally, if I on a drinking day, it'll be a couple of beers, 2 or 3 maximum. Sometimes only 1. You know, I don't try to pin myself down, but there are times when you have a lot more. And with craft beer, you can be sideways, any which way but loose in a short space of time because of the raging ABVs of some beers, and just you can't just go, I can drink 10 pints and I'll be all right, because you can't. You don't know what you're drinking from one beer to the next. So, am I an alcoholic? No, but I do have an addictive personality, and I know that in the eyes of NHS professionals, I probably do drink too much, and I would say that's probably the same for 95% of the people on BrewTube. There you go. Anyway, moving on. What's your favourite beer ingredient? Well, everyone has said this already, and that is the 4 key ones are, you can't do without one or the other. So I'm not going to say one is more favoured than the other. I'm going to go for something that I personally love in beer, and that's coffee. Coffee stout is something I'm bang into these days. I make a decent one, and I can't drink coffee for its own purpose, because I have an issue with caffeine. It gives me anxiety, and I even have panic attacks, which scare the living shit out of me. So I try to avoid it, and caffeine in most forms. I can have a cup of tea and stuff like that, but coffee's a complete no-no. Whereas when it's dissipated in beer, I don't have the same issues. So yeah, for me, coffee, my favourite ingredient. Next one. Question 7. Do you brew? Well, for a good high percentage of those of us on BrewTube, yes we do, and as do I. So, moving on. Question 8. What was your first beer? Yeah, well, my first beer was probably not that terrible in terms of, like, you know, what I got into in my formative years when I was drinking all these macro lagers and stuff. My first beer was a Lauenbrau. Well, that's the first beer I remember drinking to its entirety off my own back and of my own volition. My dad didn't take me for a drink until, I don't know, I was in my mid-20s or something. We didn't have that kind of relationship. We got around to it eventually, but we didn't like, he wasn't like, I'm taking you for your first beer, you know, this is how it's going to be. We didn't have that kind of relationship. Love the old bugger to bits, miss him terribly. But anyway, my first beer was a Lauenbrau. I was maybe 15. Yeah, late for some, early for others. And I pilfered it along with a couple of others. I used to work, for anyone who knows me from this period, and particularly anyone who was a scout leader for me, I do apologise here and now. I don't think I've shared this with anyone from there, but I used to belong to, I was a Sea Scout. I used to belong to a thing in London called Dockton Scout Project. It's a training ship down in near Canary Wharf, and it's a base for uniformed organisations and other people to come down and learn canoeing, sailing, rowing, etc. But I used to volunteer and work down there as part of what's called the DSP, or Dockton Scout Project, and they had this scheme called the Quartermaster Scheme, which was for those of us who were younger. You turned, I think it was 16 or 18 or something, and you could become crew. And there's a dry docked old ship down there called the HQTS Lord Amory, and on the Lord Amory they had a bar which was for the crew. The QMs or quartermasters saw it from time to time, mainly when we had to clean it, I think. But they had a fridge in there that was under lock and key, and I was in there cleaning it one day or whatever, and I had a set of house keys on me and various other keys or whatever. I just happened to try one in the lock, and lo and behold, it only frickin' turned. I'm in there on my own, looking over my shoulder like some sort of roustabout, and I got into it, and there was all sorts in there. So literally, I think I stashed 3 or 4 of these Lauenbraus and just had it on my toes. I'm shocked to say that key never turned in that lock again. A seminal moment in my life. But I got these things back to home, and I remember trying them, stuffed them down the side of my bed or something, and was like trying them in my spare time. So yeah, Lauenbrau was my first beer, and it was not obtained legally. Sorry. Anyway, final question. Who in the beer world do you look up to? I haven't even written down an answer for this one, because I don't think I have anyone in the commercial beer world that I particularly look up to. I don't know anyone in the commercial beer world. Well, I do tell a lie there. I know the chap who runs Billericay Brewery. I kind of guess, yeah, I look up to him, but he's had some positive effect on me in terms of future plans, but I won't be saying anything about that now. But anyway, Trevor from Billericay Brewing, if you haven't watched BrewTube, kudos to you, sir. Other than that, who do I look up to? Well, my mate Ben is kind of my chief taster, my my encyclopedia on beer. He's the chap I go to if I've got a question, if I want to know something, or if I just want to go for a beer and think someone will be up for it. The man is a freaking legend. He knows his way around beer like no one else I know. So Ben, certainly someone I look up to on a personal level. From BrewTube, the first person I ever watched was Brewmaster Ben, so another Ben. Now, the man's hilarious. I've shared very little contact with him in terms of being on here because they say never meet your heroes, don't they? But, but no, Brewmaster Ben, he loves a cock up and he loves his beer and he really makes me laugh. Very, very funny guy. I learnt a few things through him along the way as well, and he's still going. He's one of the first people I got into. I mean, there were others, people like Craig Tube, who pretty much everyone cites as being someone they first saw and doesn't watch anymore, and that's the same for me. From over the pond, Under the Table Brewing, Nate, Pico and Elder P, I still think are probably the most watchable people on that side of the pond for me. Really, really enjoy their stuff, particularly when they're together. From this country again, new to homebrew Tom, started watching him when he first got on there and I was still voyeuring, and that man just jumped into it feet first, and yeah, really like his stuff. Who else? Crikey, I don't know, they're tons and tons, but all you guys are sound as a pound. You are some of the most genuine people I have ever had the privilege to meet. And even though I'm flighty, I'm on here sometimes and then I'm not for months and stuff. It's something I feel like I'll always come back to. And so, yeah, massive love to everyone. I don't think I'm going to nominate anyone because, frankly, it looks like pretty much everyone's done them. And I can't think. I'm a bit behind in my videos. I haven't really seen who's done the most recent ones, so I could then start thinking, well, this person hasn't done it, let's nominate X, Y, Z. So thank you to Tasting Niche for this. Big sub for you. Gonna be watching more of your videos. Watch a couple today. You're one funny person, and albeit homeless at the moment, it says. So anyway, I've rambled long enough. If you are watching, if you get round to seeing mine, then, and you're ever in South Wales, you need somewhere to stop, do pop in. We have a 2-year-old, but yeah, we'll generally have some beer as well. Anyway, much love, people. Peace out. See you next week when I'll have hopefully, some brewing footage. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light.